Let me tell you a secret about the heart, not the poet's heart, that fluttering dove, not the surgeon's heart, that brutish, stupid pump. No, I mean the real one. The one that beats in the chest of a man at 3 a.m., staring at a phone that will not ring. That heart is a marionette. And she, my friend, was a master puppeteer who never even knew she was holding the strings. In fact, the most exquisite torture is this: the strings pull themselves. This is the alchemy of addiction that old Schopenhauer warned us about, the engine of the world humming its dreadful song. He called it the will, a blind, relentless, cosmic striving, a hunger with no mouth. It doesn't want you to be happy. Happiness is a brief sunlit clearing in a forest of shadows. It's boring, sterile. The will wants you to feel. It thrives on the tension, the oscillation between the agony of desire and the fleeting, almost sickening relief of its satisfaction. It's a pleasure-pain loop, a carousel spinning faster and faster until the painted horses look like snarling beasts. She gives you a sliver of attention, a late-night text, a laugh that sounds like wind chimes in a graveyard, a touch that lingers just a second too long. That's the pleasure. It's a shot of warmth in a cold vein. Your world, once monochrome, is suddenly drenched in violent color. But then, the withdrawal, the silence, the scene receipt, the cancelled plan, the polite, soul-crushing distance. That's the pain. And your brain, that desperate addict, screams for another hit. It doesn't crave her. Not really. It craves the relief from the pain she orchestrates. You see the paradox, don't you? The poison becomes the only antidote. There is an old piece of folklore from a village long swallowed by the Black Forest. They say there lived a toy maker who carved a perfect wooden doll. He sanded her limbs until they were smoother than river stones and painted her eyes with the color of a twilight storm. He loved her so deeply that he wished for her to live. An old spirit of the woods, hearing his plea, granted his wish, but with a chilling caveat. She would be given a heart, but it would not beat on its own. Its rhythm, the spirit whispered, would be tied to the tension of her strings. Only when she was being pulled, manipulated, caught between one command and another, would her heart flutter to life. A placid, peaceful existence would leave her a cold, lifeless doll once more. The toy maker, in his love, spent the rest of his days jerking her through a frantic, painful dance just to hear the reassuring patter of her wooden heart. He destroyed his creation in the name of keeping it alive. Is this not what you do? You mistake the anxiety for excitement, the jealousy for passion, the gut-wrenching uncertainty for the thrill of the chase. You tell yourself, this must be love because it hurts so much. This is a lie whispered from the deepest, most terrified part of the soul. Recent studies, those cold clinical dissections of the human spirit published in journals no one reads, confirm this. A 2024 paper from the Max Planck Institute showed that the neural pathways activated by intermittent reinforcement in romantic obsession are not just similar to but identical with those of a gambling addict. You're not in a romance. You're at a slot machine, pulling the lever again and again, feeding it your time, your sanity, your self-worth, hoping for a jackpot of affection that, even when it hits, is gone in an instant. The liberation, the strange and terrifying freedom, begins when you stop pulling the lever, when you let the marionette fall, when you allow the heart to go still. The silence that follows is immense. It is a loneliness so profound it feels like a physical presence, a cold guest sitting in the chair opposite you. But in that silence, you begin to hear something else. Not the frantic puppet beat of a heart in torment, but the slow, deep, powerful drum of your own life. A rhythm independent of any string, any pull, any master. You realize the pain was never a sign of life. It was the creaking of the mechanism that kept you a toy. So, here is my question for you. Whispered from one insomniac to another in the witching hour. Look down at your own hands. Do you feel the phantom touch of the strings? And be honest, in this sacred candlelit darkness, Are you the puppet, or are you the one who keeps tightening the knots? Where a man goes to meet the only ghost he can never exorcise, himself. The bell of midnight tolls for one, a congregation of the none. In pews of bone, on floors of dust, sits God and I in mutual trust that neither one of us is there, just mank silence and a vacant prayer. When you stop the chase, you fall, not into a void as you might fear, but into a place far more terrifying. An immense and such silent structure. Let us call it the Cathedral of Self. You have spent your life running through the noisy marketplace outside its walls, haggling for affection, bartering pieces of your soul for a moment of warmth, your ears filled with the din of desire and expectation. But now the market has closed. The merchants have gone home, and you, shivering, push open the great heavy doors and step inside. At first, the silence is absolute. It is a physical pressure against your eardrums. The air is cold, smelling of damp stone, melted wax, and something ancient like buried secrets. The ceilings are lost in darkness, the scale of the place impossible, designed to make you feel infinitesimal. This is the first trial of solitude, the utter, crushing absence of the other. Her voice, her laughter, her arguments, the soundtrack to your addiction is gone. And in its place, this terrifying, holy quiet. You scream just to prove you still exist. And the only thing that answers is your own voice, distorted and monstrous, echoing back at you from the stone vaults above. This is the moment most men flee. They cannot bear the echo. They scramble back outside, back to the noise, any noise, finding a new chase, a new distraction, another warm body to shield them from the cold expanse within. They would rather be a slave in a familiar hell than a king in a silent, empty heaven. But if you stay, if you have the courage to sit down in one of the cold, hard pews and simply listen to the silence, something extraordinary happens. The echoes begin to change. At first, they are the ghosts of your failures, the cringeworthy things you said, the weaknesses you showed, the opportunities you missed. They mock you, a chorus of your own worst judgments. Then come the other ghosts, the boy you were, frightened and hopeful, the young man you meant to be, full of fire and naive poetry, all the selves you abandoned in the pursuit of being loved. Kierkegaard knew this place. He called it the abyss of the self. He knew that true faith wasn't a leap towards God, but a terrifying swan dive into this inner cathedral with no guarantee that you will find anything but stone at the bottom. You sit for days, weeks, years. The light shifts, a single sunbeam cutting through a high stained glass window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Each one a forgotten moment, a tiny, unresolved particle of your own existence. And slowly, you learn to differentiate the echoes. You begin to recognize their sources. You start a dialogue with them. You forgive the frightened boy. You listen to the poet. You make peace with the fool. The echoes cease to be a torment. They become a council, your congregation. And then, the final miracle. A 2025 study in neurophenomenology at a Kyoto institute, a strange little paper blending brain scans with Zen philosophy, observed that long-term meditators and those who embrace radical solitude show a fascinating integration of the brain's default mode network. In layman's terms, the part of your brain that chatters, worries, and tells stories about yourself, it finally learns to harmonize. The cacophony of echoes coalesces into a single, clear note. It is your own voice. Not the one you used to please or perform. Not the echo of your father or your lovers. But your true voice. Quiet. Resilient. Unadorned. It doesn't need to shout, for in the cathedral there is no one else to shout over. This is the fragile hope that blooms in the dark. The strength you find is not the strength of a hunter, but the strength of a mountain. It is forged not from conquest, but from stillness. You did not fill the emptiness. You became it. You learned its contours, its temperature, its sacred geometry. You are no longer a visitor in the cathedral. You are the stone it is built from. My question then is a riddle for you, sitting in your own silent room. When all the noise of the world is stripped away and all that is left is the echo of your own soul, what is the one sound that grows louder the more intently you listen to the silence? The woman you chase is never the woman you catch. She is a phantom you've painted on the mist. Can I tell you something truly grotesque? A secret so ugly it's almost beautiful. The woman you are breaking your heart over, she doesn't exist. She never did. You are a man in love with a ghost of your own making. You are a connoisseur of mirages. You meet her. There is a spark, a glance, a moment. And in that instant, your starved imagination, your desperate inner artist, gets to work. You see her not as she is, a messy, contradictory, gloriously and terrifyingly human creature, riddled with her own fears and histories. No, you see a canvas, and you begin to paint. You use the pigments of your own unmet needs. You sketch the lines of your favorite fantasies, a dash of the mother you never had, a stroke of the muse you think you deserve, the melancholy of a tragic heroine from a novel you read when you were 17. You project onto her a constellation of virtues, a depth of understanding, a capacity for healing that no single human being could possibly possess. You are not getting to know a person. You are commissioning a masterpiece inside your own head. This is Nietzsche's great cruel joke. We cannot bear the chaos of reality, the sheer unscripted otherness of another person. So we impose order. We create a beautiful Apollonian illusion to save us from the raw Dionysian truth. The woman you chase is this illusion. She is a flawless statue you've carved, and you worship her. You bring her gifts. You perform grand gestures. You debase yourself at her marble feet. All the while, the real woman is standing beside the statue, watching you, perhaps confused, perhaps flattered, perhaps a little horrified. There's an old Hungarian fable about a cartographer who was tasked with mapping a mythical forest. It was said that a beautiful forest queen lived at its heart. For years he toiled, not mapping the actual trees and streams, but drawing the forest as he believed the queen would want it to be. He drew paths of crushed pearls and rivers of sweet wine. When he finally reached the center, he found her, a mortal woman, her hands stained with dirt from her garden, her face lined with worry. She offered him water from her well. He smashed the cup in disgust. "You are not my queen." "Sush!" he screamed and ran back into the woods, where he spent the rest of his life searching for the fantasy he had drawn on his own map. You laugh, but is it not you? You get angry when she deviates from your script. She would never say that. That's not who she is. What you mean is, that is not who I designed her to be. Your disappointment is not with her, but with the failure of your own artistry. Your heartbreak is the rage of a god whose creation has suddenly developed free will. Modern psychology has a sterile name for this: cognitive projection bias. A 2023 study even showed that during the initial stages of infatuation, the brain regions responsible for critical judgment and social assessment are, well, they're essentially offline. You are literally, neurologically blind. You are driving a car at 100 miles an hour with a beautiful, intoxicating blindfold on. The liberation is the moment of sacrilege. It's the moment you take a hammer to your own perfect statue. It's when you choose to see the real woman in all her glorious, infuriating, imperfect reality. You will see her flaws, her scars, her ugliness. And she, in turn, will finally see you, not as a worshipper, but as another human being. This encounter is terrifying. It lacks the heady romance of the chase, the high drama of obsession. It is quiet. It is awkward. It is real. It may not lead to love. In fact, it usually doesn't. But it leads to truth. And in that truth, you are set free. You stop being a ghost haunting someone else's garden, and you can finally return to cultivating your own. You learn to find beauty in the real, not the ideal. In the crooked tree, not the perfect blueprint. In the complex, flawed woman, not the simple, flawless phantom. So here is my accusation, and I want you to answer it in the unforgiving honesty of your own mind. Picture her face, the one you replay in your daydreams. Now be a ruthless critic. How much of that ethereal glow is her, and how much is merely the light from your own projector? The strength you build to win her is the very cage that will keep you from yourself. Here's a joke for you. What does a knight in shining armor fear more than the dragon? The rain. Because rust is a slow, quiet death, but the real terror is that a sudden downpour might wash away the polish and show everyone the cheap, dented metal underneath. Now, what if the armor wasn't made of metal, but of glass? This is the predicament of the modern man who believes he must be strong to be loved. You spend your life forging this armor. Each rejection adds a layer. Each expectation from society, from your family, from the ghost in your garden, adds another. You learn to be stoic, unflappable, ambitious, decisive. You build a fortress of competence. You speak with certainty even when you are crippled by doubt. Your armor is magnificent. It gleams in the sun. It reflects back the adoring, expectant faces of others. She sees it, and she is impressed. She feels safe beside its shining facade. You have won. You have captured the princess. And you are now in hell because the armor is made of glass. It is incredibly heavy. You cannot run in it. You cannot dance in it. You cannot sleep in it. The world outside is muted, the sounds distant and distorted, as if you're living at the bottom of an aquarium. You cannot feel the warmth of the sun or the simple pleasure of a breeze on your skin. Everything is filtered through this rigid, transparent prison you have built around yourself. And the worst part, you are utterly, terrifyingly fragile. One clumsy move, one moment of genuine, unplanned vulnerability, one stone thrown by the careless hand of fate, and the entire magnificent structure could shatter into 1,000 razor-sharp pieces, leaving you naked, bleeding, and exposed. So you spend all your energy maintaining the armor, polishing it, reinforcing its weak spots, never ever letting anyone get close enough to see the hairline cracks that are starting to spread across its surface. Your strength becomes a full-time performance. Your life is no longer a life. It is a long, exhausting act of stage management. You cannot say, "I'm scared." You cannot say, "I don't know." You cannot say, "I need help," because these phrases are the stones that would shatter the glass. So you suffer in silence, your own screams echoing unheard inside your beautiful, transparent coffin. This isn't philosophy. It's physics. Every ounce of energy you spend maintaining the facade is an ounce of energy you cannot spend on actual growth. You are not building a self, you are curating a brand. And brands, my friend, are hollow. There's a quiet tragedy I see in so many men. The more successful and strong they appear on the outside, the more terrified and juvenile they are on the inside. They have the emotional toolkit of a bewildered adolescent, hidden behind the credentials of a king. The hope, and it is a terrifying hope, lies in the shattering. It is the blessed, agonizing moment when you stop protecting the armor. Maybe you let it crack on purpose. Maybe you walk into the rain and let the world see the imperfect man underneath. You choose authenticity over admiration. You choose truth over strength. The initial shattering is agony. You will feel exposed, weak, ashamed. People who love the armor will leave. They were never in love with you anyway. But then, after the pain, comes the liberation. For the first time, you feel the wind on your skin. You feel the genuine warmth of a person who chooses to stay, not because you're strong, but because you are real. You can finally breathe. The weight is gone. You discover that true strength wasn't the glass armor at all. It was the courage to live without it. It was the resilience of bare skin, which can be cut, but can also heal. So here is my dare. It's a simple one. Tomorrow morning, when you are alone, go stand before your mirror. Look at the man you present to the world. And then I dare you to tap gently on his chest and listen with brutal honesty for just how hollow it sounds. The belief that one soul can complete another is the most beautiful lie ever carved onto a tombstone. Picture two trees planted as saplings only inches apart. For years, they seem the perfect pair. Their branches intertwine, their leaves mingle. It looks like a beautiful, leafy embrace. But underground, it is war. Their roots fight for the same soil, the same water. Above, their joined canopy blocks the sun from them both. They grow stunted, twisted into each other, neither one achieving its full majestic height. They are not two trees anymore. They are one crippled, codependent organism, locked in a slow, mutual strangulation. We, in our sentimental blindness, call this love. This is the final truth, the one that lies at the bottom of the well after all the others have been drawn up. The foundational myth of our culture is a poison dressed as honey. It is Plato's curse from the Symposium, the idea that we are all fractured halves of a whole, wandering the earth in a state of perpetual lack, searching for our other half to make us complete. It is the most romantic, most seductive, and most destructive idea ever conceived. It turns love from a choice into a desperate necessity. It makes solitude a disease and partnership the only cure. It is a lie. You are not half of a soul. You are an entire, complete, and sovereign universe. To believe you need another to complete you is the ultimate act of self-betrayal. It is to look upon the vast, star-dusted cosmos of your own being and declare it an empty lot, waiting for someone else to build a house on it. This frantic search for the one is the will's masterstroke. Schopenhauer saw it clearly. Nature, or the will, doesn't care for your happiness. It cares for procreation. It cares for the continuation of the species. So it tricks us with this intoxicating illusion of romantic completion. It whispers in our blood, find her, merge with her, lose yourself in her. Only then will you be whole. It is a biological imperative masquerading as a spiritual destiny. It is the tyranny of two, the dogma that a life is only validated when it is reflected in the eyes of another. When you finally stop chasing what destroys you, this is the final illusion to dissolve. It's the most painful one because it's the most beautiful. You must mourn it like a god. You must perform a funeral for the idea of a soulmate. But once it is buried, you are finally, truly free. Your life ceases to be a frantic search. It becomes an exploration. You no longer look at others as potential missing pieces of your own puzzle, but as other complete universes, which you may choose to visit, to admire, to travel alongside, but never to possess or merge with. The strange liberation is this. Love becomes possible for the first time. Not the needy, grasping, addictive love of the marionette, not the narcissistic, projective love of the ghost in the garden, but a quiet, profound, detached love. A love that says, I see the universe that you are. It is magnificent. I will not seek to own it. I will not use it to fill my own voids. I will simply stand here in my own universe and appreciate the light of yours. This is a love that asks for nothing. It is the love of a philosopher for a star. You will be lonely sometimes. The silence of your own cathedral will return. But it is no longer a terrifying silence. It is a peaceful one. It is the quiet hum of your own cosmos, turning on its axis. You will learn to root yourself in your own soil, draw your own water, and reach for your own sun. You will become a great solitary tree, strong and whole in yourself. Your branches may still touch others in the wind, a fleeting, beautiful contact. But your life, your stability, your very being depends on no one but you. This is the ultimate paradox. By abandoning the search for completion, you become complete. By embracing your solitude, you become capable of a true, non-possessive connection. So my final question is not a riddle or a dare, but an invitation whispered from my cathedral to yours. If your story is not a duet, and your soul is not a fragment waiting for another. What terrifying, magnificent, and uniquely singular symphony could it finally become?